Hello, friend. Welcome to History ZZZ. We are glad you are here. Get comfortable. Let your body find its place. Let your shoulders settle. Let your hands open. Let your jaw be loose. There is nothing you need to do, nowhere you need to be. Breathe in slowly and out. Tonight, we are going somewhere that has not existed for nearly 2,000 years. And yet it was, for a time, the center of the known world. A city of 1,000,000 people, a city of marble and mud, of senators and slaves, of fountains running day and night with cold mountain water. Tonight, we go to Rome. The year is 100. The emperor is Trajan, wise, capable, and battle-hardened. The empire stretches from the deserts of Syria to the fog-wrapped shores of Britain. And at the center of all of it, like the stone at the heart of a fruit, is this city. Close your eyes. The sun has just touched the western hills. The sky is turning the color of old bronze. You are here. The city smells nothing like you expected. This is the first thing you notice. Rome smells of wood smoke and baking bread and animal dung and the faint mineral bite of fresh plaster, and somewhere beneath all of it, the slow green smell of the Tiber moving through its banks. It is not an unpleasant smell exactly. It is a busy smell. The smell of a city that is very much alive. Nearly 1,000,000 people live here. This is a number that will not be matched by any European city for another 1,400 years. Rome in the year 100 is, by every measure, the largest city the Western world has ever seen. And as the sun goes down, it is changing. Roman law prohibited wagons and carts in the city streets during daylight hours. So now, as the light fades, you begin to hear what the day has been holding back. The low rumble of wooden wheels on cobblestone, the creak of laden axles, the shouts of drivers urging their animals forward. The city that was pedestrian by day becomes something else by night. Louder, more animal, more honest, perhaps. You stand at the top of a narrow street and let it wash over you. The streets of Rome are narrow. Most of them, the ones ordinary people walk every day, are barely wide enough for two people to pass each other comfortably. They are paved with great flat stones called basalt, gray-black and slightly slick, worn smooth by decades of sandals and hooves and bare feet. On either side rise the insulae, the apartment buildings that house most of the city's population. Some of them are 6, 7 stories tall. They lean slightly over the streets as they rise, each story jutting a little further out, so that the sky above the street is a thin ribbon of fading blue framed by timber and plaster and clay tile. From above, someone once said, "The streets of Rome look like the cuts in a loaf of bread." You understand that now. The lower floors of the insulae are occupied by shops, tavernae, their wide stone counters embedded with ceramic jars that hold olives, wine, lentils, grain. The shutters are being folded back, lamps lit, the evening trade beginning. A woman leans from a window 4 stories above you and shakes a cloth. A cat picks its way along a ledge. A child runs past, laughing at something you cannot see. Life is happening everywhere here, all at once, on top of itself, in every direction. Let your breathing slow. You move through the streets, and the city moves around you. Ahead, a thermopolium, a Roman fast food counter, is doing brisk business. The counter is built of stone, its surface worn smooth, large ceramic dolia sunk into the countertop and filled with hot food. Lentil stew thick with cumin and coriander, a soup of farro wheat that steams in the evening air, a sauce of fermented fish called garum that smells sharp and deeply savory, more powerful than anything you have encountered before. The man behind the counter is broad-shouldered and efficient. He speaks rapidly to each customer, ladling food into shallow clay bowls accepting coins without looking up. Most people in Rome do not cook at home. The insulae have no kitchens, or rather, they have small charcoal braziers that are technically forbidden because the city has burned down too many times. So people eat here at counters like this, standing on the street, bowl in hand. They have been eating this way for generations. The routine of it is comforting. The smell of the stew is warm and rich. You breathe it in and move on. You hear the fountain before you see it, a steady, unhurried sound, water falling into stone. Not the sound of pipes and pressure, but the older, more patient sound of water that has come a long way and arrived without hurry. Rome has 11 aqueducts by this point in its history. Together they deliver something extraordinary, nearly 300 million gallons of fresh water to the city every day. More water per person than most modern cities provide. The water comes from springs in the Alban Hills, from the mountains northeast of the city. It travels for miles inside channels of stone and brick, sometimes underground, sometimes carried high above valleys on arched bridges that march across the landscape like the legs of some slow, deliberate giant. It arrives at Rome and falls first into the great Castellum, a distribution tower, and from there into the pipes that run beneath the streets. And then here, at this nondescript corner of a nondescript neighborhood, it arrives in a small stone basin and spills over the edge in a thin, continuous sheet. A girl kneels beside it and fills a clay amphora. She has done this today already, probably twice. She does not look at the water. She is thinking about something else. The water falls. The sound is the same as it has always been. You sit on the edge of the fountain and listen. The Forum Romanum is quieter now than it was at noon. It is still never truly quiet. You stand at its edge and look in. The great open space is paved with stone worn to a shine by a century of feet. At the center, the rostra, the speaker's platform, juts into the space, its bronze prows of captured ships dark in the evening light. The temples surround the forum on every side. The temple of Saturn, old and massive, its columns thick as old trees. The temple of Vesta, home to the sacred fire that has burned without interruption for hundreds of years. The temple of Castor and Pollux, where 3 tall columns still catch the last of the sky's color and seem to hold it a moment before releasing it to dark. There are still people here. There are always people here. A senator walking slowly with a companion, their togas bright white against the dusk. A group of men talking over a document spread on the base of a column. A slave waiting, very still, some distance away. A dog lies against the base of a temple wall, its side rising and falling. The Basilica Aemilia is closed for the evening, its great arched windows dark. A torch flares somewhere across the space, and the shadows all shift at once. Let the weight of the day leave your body. Feel yourself growing heavy and still. To the southeast, visible even from here, the Colosseum rises against the darkening sky. It is 20 years old. Its stone and concrete are still pale, almost white in places, not yet the warm amber of age. The arches of its outer wall, 80 of them on the ground floor alone, frame the darkness beyond them like windows into nothing. It holds 50,000 people. Today it held none. The games were 3 days ago, and the next ones are not until the Feast of Mars in the spring. So the vast building is empty tonight, and emptiness in a structure built for 50,000 has a particular quality, a held breath. An absence that is almost a presence. The men who built it are mostly dead. The emperor who commissioned it, Vespasian, is dead. The emperor who opened it, Titus, is dead, gone of fever at 40. the Colosseum outlived them all. You stand for a moment and look at it. The scale of it is difficult to understand at first. Then it settles. Then it is simply there, enormous and indifferent and permanent in the way that only very large stone structures can be. A bat circles one of the upper arches, dipping and rising. You move away from the Colosseum and follow a sound you have been hearing without quite registering it. Water again, but different this time. Warmer, steamier, a kind of slow exhale of heat from a building set low against the hillside. The thermae, the public baths. Not the great imperial baths, not yet. Trajan is building those now on the hill above, but they will not be finished for another 9 years. This is one of the smaller neighborhood baths, one of more than 800 such establishments in the city. The evening bathing session is still going. The entrance fee is minimal, less than a day's wage. Some days it is free if a wealthy patron is celebrating something and feels like generosity. Inside, the air is thick and warm and smells of oil and cedar wood and the particular mineral sweetness of heated stone. The floor is heated from beneath, a hypocaust system, channels of warm air running under the tiles. You can feel the warmth through the soles of your feet. The sound inside is soft, the low murmur of conversation, the slap of water. Somewhere, someone is laughing quietly. A man floats on his back in the warm pool, his eyes closed, completely still. You understand the impulse exactly. Breathe in the warmth. Let it move through you. The baths are more than a place to wash. Romans with access to private plumbing, and some wealthy ones do, still come here, because the baths are also a library, a gymnasium, a place to conduct business, to gossip, to meet people who might be useful to you, to be seen. Rome is a city where a great deal depends on being seen. But right now, in this later hour, most of the people here are simply tired. They have worked all day. In the workshops, on the docks, hauling stone for one of the new construction sites that seem to exist on every other block. They have paid their small coin, and they are here for the heat and the water and the simple luxury of sitting still. An attendant moves quietly around the pool, refilling a clay lamp that has burned low. His movements are practiced, unhurried. The water makes small sounds against the stone edges of the pool. The steam rises. The warmth is everywhere. Let your muscles go soft. There's nothing to carry right now. You leave the baths and the night air is cool against your face. The contrast is pleasant. The warmth still in your skin, the darkness cool around it. You walk downhill, following the slope of the land, and the city opens before you, and then you hear the river. The Tiber. It is not the wide, clean river you might imagine. The Tiber in the 1st century is wide in places, narrow in others where the banks have been built up, and it runs brown, the color of the clay it carries down from the hills to the north. The Romans call it the Tiberus, and they respect it the way you respect a thing that has occasionally destroyed you. It floods sometimes. A high flood in January can reach the steps of the Forum. When that happens, the city does not stop, it adjusts. Boats on streets that were cobblestones yesterday. Tonight the river is calm. The current is visible as darker lines moving through the dark water. On the far bank, the lights of Trastevere are reflected in long, quivering lines. A barge sits heavy in the water near the docks, its load of Tiber Island marble waiting to be unloaded in the morning. You sit on the stone wall above the river bank and watch the water move. The Tiber does not care what year it is. The city sounds are becoming quieter. Let your breathing slow with them. Not everyone in Rome lives in the narrow streets and the stacked floors of the insulae. On the Aventine Hill, on the Palatine, in the wealthier quarters between the river and the Forum, stand the domus, the private houses of the rich. From the outside, they are almost deliberately blank. High walls, few windows facing the street, a heavy door with a worn threshold. But step through that door and you enter another world entirely. The atrium first, a grand entrance hall open to the sky at its center, the square aperture in the roof called the compluvium letting in the night air, and below it the impluvium, a shallow pool that catches rainwater and moonlight equally. The pool is still now, a perfect mirror of the rectangle of sky above it. Beyond the atrium, through a colonnade, is the garden, the peristyle courtyard, a square of carefully tended green surrounded on all sides by the house's private rooms. Roses, bay laurel, a fig tree heavy with fruit in the dark corner. The smell is of green things and damp earth and the faint fragrance of something flowering at night. In a city of 1 million people, this silence feels like a secret. Beyond the garden, a lamp still burns in a small room. A man sits at a table. He is perhaps 50, gray at the temples, a scroll unrolled before him. He is reading Virgil. You can tell from the way he mouths the words slightly, not for meaning, but for sound. The way you reread something you already know because you want to feel the weight of it again. He does not notice you. He does not need to. His name might be Gaius, or Marcus, or Lucius. He has a wife who is already asleep. 2 sons, one of whom is in the army, stationed somewhere on the Danube frontier, a place whose name makes Rome feel further away than it is. He worries about his son the way fathers worry, which is to say quietly and constantly and without resolution. Tonight he reads Virgil. Perhaps one day, the poet writes, it will be a joy to remember even this. The lamp flickers in a small draught from the garden. The man looks up just for a moment at nothing in particular, then looks back down. Let your eyes grow heavy. You drift back out through the domus and into the street. The carts are still moving. This is their hour, the night hours, and they will move until just before dawn when the law turns them back. They carry grain from the warehouses on the Tiber, building stone, amphorae of Spanish olive oil and Gallic wine from the great river-docked ships that bring them upriver from Ostia, Rome's port at the sea. The empire is a machine of logistics. Rome is its hungry center. Every day more than 1 million pounds of grain must arrive in this city. Grain from Egypt, mostly, the great flat delta of the Nile that feeds the capital like a field feeding a single house. It comes by ship across the Mediterranean, up the coast to Ostia, transferred to river barges, rowed and poled up the Tiber, unloaded at the docks, carried by human hands into the granaries on the Aventine, and then distributed every month to the 200,000 Roman citizens who receive their grain ration free. The state feeds its people. The cart wheels turn on the stone. The city eats. Breathe in the night air. You are on the Palatine Hill now. The hill rises steeply above the Forum. It is from this hill that our word palace comes, Palatium, because it is here on this hill above the city's heart that the emperors have built their homes. Domitian, who ruled until 6 years ago, rebuilt it entirely in marble. It covers the whole hilltop now, a complex of state halls, private apartments, sunken gardens, fountains, a stadium-shaped garden for the emperor's private use. From where you stand, at the hill's edge, you can see all of Rome spread below. 10,000 lights, 1,000 cooking fires, the oil lamps of the insulae scattered across the dark like something spilled and glowing. The Forum is just below. You can see the white of the temple roofs catching the moonlight. The Circus Maximus to your left, its long oval track pale and empty in the darkness between the hills. And beyond all of it, in every direction to every horizon, more city, more lights, more smoke rising, more lives being lived right now in the same moment you are standing here. 1,000,000 people breathing together. Let your body be heavy. Let sleep come a little closer. On the far side of the city, near the Pantheon, a baker has been awake for hours. The pister, the bread baker, starts his day long before dawn. He has a workshop on a side street, a long, narrow room with a stone-built oven at the back that has been burning since yesterday afternoon, its brick interior now perfectly heated, radiating a heat you can feel 10 feet away. He is shaping loaves. The dough is stiff, made from emmer wheat ground at the stone mill attached to the back of the building by a donkey walking a slow circle in the dark. The donkey's name is probably not recorded anywhere. The loaves are round, scored in 8 sections so they can be broken easily. Some will be plain, some will be seeded with poppy or sesame. One batch, more expensive, has been mixed with olive oil and wine. By the time the sun rises, he will have made hundreds. They will be gone by mid-morning. The smell of the bread in the oven drifts into the street. It is the oldest, most constant smell in human history. You follow it for a moment, then let it go. Sleep is close now. You can feel it at the edges. The Pantheon stands near the bend of the Tiber, the one that stands today, the one that will stand for your entire life and the lives of everyone you know, and for nearly 2,000 years beyond that, is not yet built. Trajan's architect Apollodorus has not yet begun it. The Pantheon of 100 AD is an older building, rebuilt once already after a fire, and it will be rebuilt again in the reign of Hadrian, Trajan's successor, 20 years from now. But it is there, a temple to all the gods. The word means exactly that, pan, all, and theon of the gods. Inside, the statues stand in niches, Jupiter, Mars, Venus, Mercury, Saturn, and the others, each one representing a way of being human that humans have always recognized in themselves. A priest extinguishes the last torch at the entrance. The doors are closed. The gods do not require light to exist in. High on the Capitoline Hill, the Temple of Jupiter. Best and greatest looks out over the whole of Rome. Its roof gleams with gilded tiles that catch even the faintest moonlight and throw it back as something warmer. The columns are enormous, each one taller than 3 men standing on each other's shoulders, and their bases are hung with the garlands of a recent festival that are now browning slightly in the night air. A single flame burns inside the temple. The eternal flame before Jupiter's great gold and ivory statue, maintained by the priests around the clock, never allowed to go out. The Romans believed that if Jupiter's flame fails, Rome falls. So it has not been allowed to fail. In this temple, triumphing generals have come to lay their laurel wreaths. On this hill, treaties have been signed, auguries taken, the future consulted in the flights of birds. Rome is a city that pays close attention to what the gods might be saying. You look up at the gilded roof catching the moon and wonder what it would mean to live in a world where the sky was always speaking to you. Perhaps it still is. Perhaps we simply stopped listening. The night is deep now. Most of the city sleeps. In the insulae, the upper floors are quiet. The families who live there, 4 or 5 people in a single room, sleeping on pallets covered with rough wool, have been asleep for hours. They rise with the sun and sleep when it goes down. Lamp oil costs money. Night is for sleeping. In the domus on the Aventine, the man who was reading Virgil has finally set down his scroll. The lamp has burned through its oil. He finds his way to the sleeping room by touch. He has done it 1,000 times, and lies down beside his wife, who does not wake. In the barracks of the Praetorian Guard on the edge of the city, the night watch paces a slow circuit. At the docks, a barge crew sleeps on their boat, the hull moving slightly with the river's current. In a bakery, a donkey walks its slow circle in the dark. In the baths, the last attendant has banked the furnace fire and latched the door. In the forum, the dog that was sleeping against the temple wall has not moved. Rome breathes, slowly, in the dark. There is a poem by a Roman named Juvenal who will write, a few years from now, about the miseries of the city. The noise, he will say, the constant noise. He is not wrong, exactly. Rome is loud during the day, but now, in this hour, the hour after midnight, before the baker's boys start their deliveries, before the carts begin to be unloaded, the city is as quiet as it ever gets. You can hear individual things now. The water in the fountain at the corner, its fall unchanged from morning to midnight to now. The slow creak of a sign hanging above a closed taberna. A dog somewhere across several streets, barking once and then stopping. From the direction of the Circus Maximus, the faint smell of horses, the racing stables that run the full length of its outer wall. Hundreds of horses sleeping standing up in their stalls. A torch on the corner has burned to its end, and the flame gutters, dims and goes out. The street is darker. Stars become visible above the gap between two buildings. Not many, the moon is too bright, but a few. Steady and ancient and entirely indifferent to the city beneath them. Sleep is here now. Let it take you. Think of the stones beneath Rome. The city is layered like a cake, each era building on the ruins of the last. Beneath the streets of the year 100 lie the streets of 200 years before that, and beneath those, the stone and timber village that existed before Rome was an empire, before Rome was a republic, when it was just a cluster of huts on the hills above a river crossing, and beneath that, the earth itself. The clay and tough and volcanic stone that the Tiber has been cutting through for millions of years. The city is built on time, layer upon layer, story upon story, and all of it, the republic, the empire, the temples, the bread, the aqueducts, the books, the races and the games and the arguments and the marriages and the children who grew up and the children who did not. All of it is somewhere beneath the ground right now, in the same place, waiting quietly in the dark. History is not the past, it is simply a different layer of the same earth. The first light is still 2 hours away. You drift back through the sleeping city, past the thermopolium, its counter cold now, the dolia covered with wooden boards, past the fountain, its water still falling, past the closed doors of a popina, a neighborhood tavern, where someone inside is snoring loud enough to be heard from the street. You pass a shrine at a crossroads, a lararium, a small painted niche in the wall dedicated to the Lares Compitales, the gods of the crossroads, the guardian spirits of this particular neighborhood. There is a small oil lamp burning before it, and fresh flowers someone placed there this morning or yesterday morning. Marigolds, slightly wilted, still orange in the lamplight. Every crossroads in Rome has one of these shrines. The gods are everywhere here, in the river, in the grain, in the threshold of the door, at every crossing of every path. You pause before the lararium for a moment. The flame is very small. The flowers smell faintly of something warm and fading. A guardian spirit watching over the crossroads through the night. You are safe here. Sleep now. Let Rome hold you. This city will last. In the year 100, no one in Rome imagines that any of this could end. The empire is at its greatest extent. The Pax Romana, The Roman peace has held for more than 100 years. The roads run straight from Britain to Babylon. The aqueducts run clean. The granaries are full. They cannot know what is coming. The slow erosion, the shifting borders, the centuries that will follow and build their own lives on the ruins of these streets. But tonight, this night, the city sleeps under its own certainty. 1,000,000 people, each one the center of their own world, each one inside a life that feels, as all lives do, permanent. The fountain runs at the corner. The water has come 30 miles from the mountains. It arrived, as it does every hour of every day, without interruption, without fanfare. It falls into the basin and overflows and runs along the channel cut in the stone and disappears into the dark. You close your eyes, the water keeps falling, the eternal city rests, sleep, history, ZZ.